Hey, it's Jay from Stitch in Time in Bemidji, Minnesota, and our long arm club got canceled today, so I decided to record the little class here to show you what I was going to show in our long arm class because different of you have asked for that who are not able to be close enough to come to this class. And the class today was on how do you use your long arm to piece fabrics. Cuddle fabric is a really nice, lovely fabric that you can use for making quilts that like to snuggle in them. My family all got them for their Christmas gifts last year. And so around our house, everyone gets these and they snuggle up in the wintertime. Probably because I'm too cheap to turn up the wood stove. But we just have fun with them and they're really nice. But sewing with them can be a pain because they tend to want to stretch. So what I want to point out to you is I'm going to talk about piecing with Cuddle, and the reason I say piecing with Cuddle is because there's different brands out there. I didn't say Minky because Minky stretches two ways. But Cuddle is made by a Shannon company, and it's what we sell here at the store, and Cuddle will stretch one way, but not the other way. And so it's really nice to work with because if I load this into my quilt, I can put the stretch way parallel with the poles and the non-stretch way across the poles, and it makes it so much easier to work with it. And so what I'm going to actually do is going to run through this quickly, and then if there's other questions you can leave them in comments, but I'm going to show you how we can work with this to create nice straight quilting on these with these machines on these fabrics that are not very fun to work with in normal time. So what I'll do is I'll find the middle of my quilt, and I am going to make sure I have enough of clearance. I'm not going to hit my pins at all. And I'm going to come over to the left-hand side, and then I'm going to turn on my channel locks. Now, if you don't have Pro Stitcher, or you don't have the electronic magnetic channel locks, which is a really nice feature. If you don't have Pro Stitcher and you want to use channel locks, that is the absolute best way to go. We got some specials going on right now. But you can get this little cheapy thing that will go over top of the wheel of your long arm, and that'll keep it so that it can't roll back and forth this way. But otherwise, what I want you to do is I'm going to look on my screen, and on the left-hand side, there's going to be two horizontal and vertical channel locks. I'm going to turn on the horizontal ones. I'm going to go into my Pro Stitcher mode here, and I'm going to turn on basting because that's why I just want to baste a line so that I can have a nice straight edge to put that first row up against. Now I'm going to show you it's important to have your first row done nice and straight, but even if you don't have them perfectly straight, it's easily solved in the future rows. Okay, so I'm just going to snip my threads there. Now I used a basting stitch because that way if I want to rip this out later I can, and I don't have to worry about it being in my way at all. Now I just simply take my fabric and I line it up to that edge, and I'm just going to cover it. You should have about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to go just past that a little bit and make sure that it's the whole way across there. And now my channel locks are still on, but now I'm going to turn it into take it off of basting mode and turn it back into regular stitches. If you have Pro Stitcher, you just simply go to the page, the Pro Stitcher page, and if the B there is green, you're going to need to make sure, or that's going to mean that the basting stitch is on. If I turn it off, it means it's going to go back to its regular setting. So now I just simply draw my bobbin thread up through. And now I can just start stitching. Okay, so now I can pull back. Now if you notice on my leaders here, on my fabrics, I have these magnetic grips that I have fastened here. And these are really handy because that way I can come right up to the edge of my quilt and not have to worry about hitting these clamps. This is really handy. They're made from sew tights, and I just have a lot of fun with it there. There, that first row is all done. All stayed in place. Now I'm going to go back to my screen, turn off my channel lock, and so now I can actually move this all along here. I'm going to again come up, and I'm going to advance my quilt just a little bit. So just bear with me a little bit. Not going to do too much because I want you to be able to see what I'm up to, what I'm working at here. Now, when I advance my quilt, I want to make sure that my grips at the edge are right close to where I'm going to be stitching. One of the reasons we have this here is because as we're making stitches, it's pulling thread from the spool through the tension, and it's a lot tighter there. And the temptation is to want to pull the fabric with us. So we want to have that clamp. It does not need to be tight. Remember, this has got a lot of stretch this way. It just needs to be over here on this side. So now, the next color that I'm going to do is going to be a nice purple. So what I'll do is I'll take this, slide it underneath here, and again, we want to do about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And so now I'm going to just take that and I'm going to draw my bobbin thread up through. Now I'm going to show you another thing that is even nicer for this, is if you have Pro Stitcher, I showed you what it was like doing with channel locks. But here's another feature that on this one, I'm going to want to keep my fabric laid out. You know, sometimes the fabric wants to roll up on you a little bit, and I want to be able to tug this a little bit if I need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Pro Stitcher screen. I'm going to go over to the Move button. See, there's Pro Stitcher tab, then it's in the Move, and I'm going to have Continuous and Stitch. Now the maximum speed you can go at is 50. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You're going to see this a little bit. I'm going to have Continuous turned on because what happens is when I touch that right hand arrow to go that way, it'll just keep stitching that way for me perfectly, and I'll be all good to go. So watch this. We're going to, I drew my bobbin thread up through, and now I'm just going to turn it. Let me make sure this is kind of situated here. And look at that. Just like that, I don't have to be messing with it. I can just be holding my fabric, making sure that it goes right where I want it to go. And it's doing all the work for me. All I need to do is just keep the fabric lined up. Now when I get to the end, when I get close to the end here, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to turn my channel lock back on. And then I'm just going to manually stitch it up the rest of the way, because I don't want to take a chance of running into that spring. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to do a few more, and you can just watch me as I go through this, because I'm going to use that same technique as we go through here, okay? So you just watch, and then I'll come back for some closing thoughts. There, just like that, the blanket is half done. This is the middle section, and we are going to continue on with it from the air. But you can see it just took us a few minutes, and we have this blanket already done. A couple things to note about this. This is already quilted. All I need to do is trim around the edges, put my binding on, and it's done. You know, so you can turn out a blanket, very nice blanket, very quickly without doing tons and tons of work. The other thing to keep in mind is because this is a flip and sew technique, this pattern has an up and a down. And so thus you have to make sure that you have that orientated correctly when you're doing the flip and sew method. But that's how easy it is to do. So there's a lot of things we can do here. We use channel lock. We can use the move on the screen. You can use channel locks with a machine that doesn't have Pro Stitcher on it, but it's really nice to have that continuous movement. You saw how nice it was for me to be able to use both my hands to keep it going as I was moving along here. One little tip I'll leave with you in the end is that it's always easier to give yourself a little thicker margin or seam allowance in the middle here than too little. If you notice when I was stitching this one down, I wasn't keeping it quite snug enough at the beginning, and I ended up with having a little less than a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's not ideal. But it gives you an idea of what you can do with it. And I'm finding that if I give myself like 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, it gives me a very nice allowance, and my foot doesn't tend to want to push it near as quickly as when it's right on the edge. So that's the class lesson for today. I hope this has been helpful for you, and hope that you can have fun with Cuddle. We have got close to 100 bolts of Cuddle in stock, and lots of different patterns and designs. I don't stock a lot of these ones here. This is a kit that we stock, but if you're interested in some fabrics and you want to see what we have, check us out or give us a call and we'll show you what we have. And I hope you have some fun stitching Cuddle on your long arm. Thanks much. Talk to you later.